What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you have been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor as well and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And that does also give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today we are headed back to the People's Republic of Chicago to discuss our favorite emperor, Brandon Johnson. Wow. When it comes to Brandon Johnson, I can honestly say this. Well, let me give him his proper respect. When it comes to Emperor Brandon Johnson of the People's Republic of Chicago, I can honestly say I've never seen anything like this before. I've never seen a public official holding office, a politician who's holding office, be as blatantly unaccountable as Brandon Johnson is. Recently, Brandon Johnson literally ran from local reporters. He ran from reporters, literally. I'll show you. Let me just pull it up. He bolted out of there when the local reporters of Chicago approached him to have a discussion and just ask him a few questions about an alleged cop killer who was recently apprehended. And this is what he did when they ran up on him. Look at this.
Mr. Mayor! Hey, Mayor! Will you please wait? Mayor? Mr. Mayor! Mr. Mayor, why do you have to run from us?
Mayor, we
why
just want to comment about the arrest last night in relation to Officer Weska. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, why would you run from us?
He just ran.
Never seen anything like this before. It's completely insane. And I shouldn't be surprised at this. I really shouldn't, because for as much as I cover Brandon Johnson on his channel, which is a lot, specifically really as it pertains to the migrant crisis and how it's affecting Chicago, this is him in this is his nature. This is what he does. You can't ask this guy a question about anything without him blatantly just going completely left and just not answering the question at all. Right? He doesn't even make an attempt to somewhat talk around questions that he doesn't want to give you an answer to. The guy just will go completely left. And if you ask him what time it is, he'll tell you what he had for breakfast this morning. It's completely crazy and completely insane. But to actually watch him run away from the press, run into his SUV, and the SUV skirts off, that's just a whole nother level of just being unaccountable as a mayor. And quite possibly at this point, it might be already safe to call it in and acknowledge the fact that Brandon Johnson is the worst mayor in Chicago history at this point. He has to be. He has to be. This is completely insane. Now, what I want to do is that I want to jump into a New York Post article very quickly, just to give us a little bit kind of more detail on what happened and what he was running from, you could say, and why he was running. So let me pull that up on the screen for you all right now. And as usual, the links to everything that you're seeing on your screen right now will be in the description box below if you want to read and watch the video, without my commentary, right? But here's a New York Post article, and it's titled, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson runs from reporters asking about alleged cop killer. And the article reads as such: Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson was caught on camera bolting from local reporters who wanted to ask him about the recent arrest of an alleged cop killer. Johnson was at a National Day of Prayer service Thursday in the Windy City with his chauffeured car waiting in an alley, according to reports. So it looks like they caught Brandon Johnson slipping. They caught Brandon Johnson slipping in the alley. He was by himself waiting for the chauffeured vehicle to pull up. And as soon as he pulled up, the reporters pulled up and he bolted running. Local reporters darted after the mayor hollering for him to wait and to comment about the arrest of Xavier Tate Jr., who allegedly killed Chicago police officer Luis Huesca in a carjacking last month, according to video. Mr. Mayor, why do you have to run from us? NBC5 Mary Ann shouted as Johnson is seen scrambling amid a flock of suited aides before jumping into a black SUV. Mayor, we just want to comment about the arrest last night in relation to Officer Huesca, CBS Chicago Darius Johnson said. I want to say this before I move forward. And I make this comparison all the time. And a lot of you don't like when I make this comparison because you feel like I'm giving Eric Adams, kind words. And, we don't really care for Eric Adams too much, right? Because he sucks too. But I will say this, and I've said it so many times before. Eric Adams would have never ran like this. For as much as Eric Adams sucks as the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams will talk to anybody. Eric Adams will pull up on you. I've watched Eric Adams pull up on people who were protesting him. He was in the middle of a function. His function ended. And instead of just getting in his vehicle with his security guards and leaving, he approached the protesters who were protesting him concerning the migrant crisis and how it was affecting New York City. And in approaching them, he asserted his authority as mayor and said, listen, we can talk, but you're going to respect me. You're not going to disrespect me and shout over me. But if you want to talk, we can talk. And he has done this consistently. That is the one thing that I will always give to Mayor Eric Adams. Mayor Eric Adams never ducks the smoke. He never ducks the smoke. He's always ready to have a conversation with anybody who's ready to conversate with him anytime, any place. And I say all that to say this really goes to show how much Brandon Johnson is truly unqualified for this job. He is woefully unqualified to be the emperor of Chicago. Woefully unqualified. It is crazy how unqualified this man actually is. So much so to the point that unless it's in a structured environment, meaning a press conference where you've been prepped beforehand by your handlers concerning what kind of questions you'll be getting asked, if he hasn't been prepped beforehand by his handlers, he can't even answer basic questions concerning the arrest of an alleged cop killer. He can't do it without his handlers behind him telling him what to do and instructing him on what to say prior to the interview even starting. And as we've seen multiple times over on this channel, even in those press conferences, the guy completely breaks down and says foolishness. How many of you all remember, and I'm going to play the videos right now. How many of you all remember when Brandon Johnson just kind of had a mental breakdown, for lack of better words, and blamed Donald Trump for the reason his Bring Chicago Home initiative failed at the ballot box during the primaries?
Also not lost on me, I think there were 38,000 Republicans that showed up and voted for Donald Trump or something like that in Chicago. So, since if we're trying to draw some conclusions and you all want some other, analytics you might want to discover, that might be something to look into, because I'll just say it, there's a good chance that played a part in this referendum. So the same people who want to see Donald Trump to become president, sometimes I do feel like he wants my job, but who wants to be president again, those are the same voters who voted for him, and the same voters where you look at where there were more no's, they were concentrated there.
Now, how many of you remember when Brandon Johnson was asked a very specific question concerning when he's going to visit the border? As opposed to just answering the question of when he's going to visit the border, the guy, once again, he started just having this kind of breakdown mentally where he's yelling about how he has a black wife and I have black children and I'm raising this black family on the west side of Chicago. Why are you asking me when I'm going to go to the border? I'll go to the border and I'll be there when I get there, but I have a black wife to attend to. What does that have to do with anything?
Just to clarify, when is a team?
Soon as possible. Look, I'm still running a major city. I have children who attend schools who have soccer games, y'all. You know, you all are asking me as if I'm not a parent in this city. I get it, I'm mayor. I get it, but you're asking me to give you a date, and I have to court. Do you understand that you have not had a mayor like me? I get that. I have a wife, I have children, they have schedules. And plus, we still have public safety that we have to address. We still have the unhoused that we have to address. I still have a budget that I have to address. And I'm doing all of that with a black wife raising 3 black children on the west side of the city of Chicago. I am going to the border as soon as possible. But I got to coordinate that with running the government and making sure that my wife and children are secure as well. Thank you, Lawrence.
That has literally nothing to do with nothing. The guy can't handle any type of pressure at all, even when being prepped. I've never seen, once again, unaccountability on this level. I've never seen someone who is so unqualified be holding a position of this stature before. It's really insane to see. This is really crazy to see. But let's carry on and read what's in this article. The mayor's office insisted to CBS Chicago it wasn't the mayor in the video, claiming the person that is being filmed running was trying to catch the car before it departed. So now you're telling me that all those reporters, the local reporters of Chicago, they don't know the mayor when they see it, when they see him? They don't know who Brandon Johnson is when they see him. That was just some other guy who was trying to catch the car before it departed, but it wasn't the mayor. You know, the lies are out of control. The lies are out of control. That is just completely and utterly ridiculous. So was that his secretary they were chasing after, but they thought it was the mayor? Come on, man. You got to knock it off. This guy, Brandon Johnson, is a joke. He's a complete joke. Tate, 22, was arrested Wednesday in Glendale Heights, 10 days after he allegedly killed the 6-year department vet in a brutal early morning shooting on April 21st, according to Chicago police. He was charged with first-degree murder, aggravated vehicular hijacking, and possession of a stolen firearm. A judge denied him pretrial release. The cold-blooded accused killer gunned down the off-duty cop just before 3 as he was driving to his home in Gage Park after his shift and while still in his uniform, authorities said. Tate allegedly approached the driver's side and shot Weska 10 times, prosecutors said. Weska was rushed to the University of Chicago hospital where he was pronounced dead. The vile nature of this crime and its devastating impact on our family and our community demand uncompromising pursuit of justice, Weska's family said. While no measure of justice can bring Officer Weska back or fully heal our hearts, we take solace in the enduring legacy, I should say, of service and bravery. Now, on a side note, and in closing, what I want to mention also, his funeral happened already. Officer Weska's funeral happened already. And the family did not want Brandon Johnson or the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, to show up. They told them not to come. Don't show up, because they didn't want any politics implemented within Officer Weska's funeral. They didn't want them to use that moment as a means to push whatever their agenda is while standing over this man's casket. They told him not to show up. And I think that that's very telling when the family of a slain officer tells not only the governor of the state, but the emperor of the city to not show up at the funeral. Do not bring your faces over here because we do not want to see you. We refuse to allow you to politicize this moment and push whatever your nonsense agendas are. Agendas that many argue actually got their son and their father killed. That says a lot. It says a lot. And with all that being said, that does it for today's news. So thank you all for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link is in the description box below, as well as pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time. And until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.